Monk Vodka for £10 says, "Hi gents, discussing Hollywood. We're still continuing the cycle of reboots, sequels, prequels, and reimagined versions. When will this cycle end? Is Hollywood bankrupt? Why can't we get nothing new? We have had stuff new, guys. People don't support it."
Exactly.
Well,
This I would say this is very much so the audience's fault.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no.
Yeah, yes and no. But the audience do have a fair share of blame in this, because when there is something completely original, unbranded, what do the audience collectively do? More often than not every time, but more often than not, the audience stays away. And they reward all kinds of reboots, sequels, and remakes with their spending cash. That way, the audience, on the whole, incentivizes Hollywood to do less original content. So we can't just complain to Hollywood. There, collectively, we as an audience have our share of the blame. Not exclusively, but we do have our share in it. But it's not just us, is it, Tom?
Well, here's the thing, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I noticed this, and I said this yesterday. Like, go back to the year 1988. The movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out. A bunch of other big movies like Die Hard came out. But you wouldn't have believed that the #1 movie of that year was Rain Man. Hollywood does not make movies like Rain Man anymore. That's the problem. They do, but they're made with B-level stars and they're sent straight to streaming. See, that's the thing, is they have lost faith in making the star vehicle. And that's the thing, is we don't have any movie stars. The last movie that you can probably point to and say was a star vehicle is probably John Wick.
Yeah.
See, and that's the thing, is so that part is the studio's fault, right? They have not given us good options to go on. See, now that's where I griped yesterday about the movie Air. The movie Air is the exact kind of movie that Hollywood used to make all the time. Tons of movie stars, not a big action thrill piece, but you know what? It was a nice drama. Sure, it's a docudrama, but in this case, but just the same. Point being, they used to make movies like that all the time, and they used to be star vehicles. We don't have any movie stars anymore that are under 30 years old. We don't, actually more like 40 anymore. And they just don't want to take the chance on movies like Sound of Freedom and other things. Sound of Freedom is a great example of what Hollywood used to make, and I said that when it came out. Those are the kind of movies they used to make and guaranteed win an Oscar every year because they would hit all the right points. You had movie stars, it made bank, people know it. And that's the thing, is Hollywood has decided that we're not going to make these kind of movies anymore. People will still go to them if they have a reason to, but when they got Joe Blow nobody in them, they're not going to trust them. And that's why they do trust something like Scream 5 or, you know, Halloween 6 or whatever, like you want to insert here for your prequel, sequel, IP, whatever, or Spider-Man or whatever it is. I mean, that's the problem.
Something familiar.
Yes. So it's kind of a cyclical thing. The studios don't want to give us anything that's not familiar because they're afraid to spend any money on anything that's not. And the audience has gotten so leery of going to see anything that isn't familiar because we've been conditioned at this point for the last 20 years.
But the funny thing is they'll spend all this money on familiar stuff like Star Wars, Star Trek, and that stuff just constantly declining, losing money, all the new Marvel movies. It's like they're sticking with the familiar, but they're just not doing it very good, and they're losing their audience.
Yeah. Yeah, and they also, you know, they end up beating a dead horse with it so much so that there's nothing left to mine, even in the long run. So, it's
well, and in their turn, they're not really creating any new talent, right? Like Tarantino and Scorsese have been saying, you know, Captain America is the star, not Chris Evans.
Yeah.
So instead of having Chris Evans be a new star, they're not even being able to jump from these Star Wars or Marvel movies to be able to do their own vehicles. Like Adam Driver close did. He went and made that one movie. I can't remember what it was called, but it was, you know, it was a drama. It was the kind of movie that would come out, you know, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It was a lot like Kramer versus Kramer, but it got buried on Netflix. I can't even remember the name of it. Right? Like, see, they can do that, but it just doesn't generate the kind of interest it used to.
Yeah.